West Yellowstone, the west entrance of the Yellowstone National Park, a point of reference for many fly fishers. Today, our first stop is the store of a young enthusiastic fly tyer called Eric Swanson, who sells everything an angler needs to enjoy a splendid fishing vacation. It's a pleasure to browse, friendly professional service, the latest fishing tackle, and best quality materials for fly tying. And the right flies for every kind of water in every season. With the help of our friends Alberto, Eric, and Dan, we're going to learn the secrets of summer gulper fishing with dry flies on the Great Lakes of Montana.
Hello, I am Alberto Salvini, a professional fly fisherman from Italy, and I'm here with my friend Dan Morrell in a best area of the US for trout fishing.
I think so.
Yeah? We would like to try some technique. We would like to try fishing on the lake.
Out on Hebgen Lake. Sure, we can go out there and do that.
Yeah, I think the best in this season now, because we can try dry fly.
Dry flies in the morning, and it's great activity in the mornings out there right now.
Yeah, and also maybe find a good spot without windy and try emerging or dry fly. What do you think? Yeah, spinner.
We covered all nymphs.
Yeah. What do you think about the technique?
We'll be going out with float tubes, and pretty much we'll be trying to corner them in, box them in. We'll have 2 or 3 float tubers. You on one side, Monica on one, myself on the other, and
it's a strategy, yeah?
Definitely. If we can keep them penned in between us, we have more of a chance.
Nice. You must move really, really slowly.
Yes.
Don't move the water, still flat.
Exactly. Good point there.
Yeah.
Alberto, it's you create any waves with this float tube, it's going to turn those fish just outside of your casting range. So once we get close to those fish, you'll be noticing that we'll be slowing down our kicking, our propulsion, and we want to really kick really smooth, like pretty much the best way I've found out is like a backwards bicycle kick.
Yeah, because some people have a big problem when they're a small windy or strong windy to come back, or
they put
trouble
their feet
for
up
legs.
on the
Yes.
right up on the surface and do a lot of flopping, and you want to keep those fins down and in the water where they do the most work.
Okay. What about the rod and the line?
I prefer, a 9-foot, 5-weight, 6-weight. You have to use a light tippet, 5X.
5X, weight for
Sometimes 6X, but we try not to, because we lose too many fish when we do that.
Oh yes, probably. I think we have all. We have rods, we have a float tube. We just can put our rod in the car and go and fish down. Okay?
We can do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The term gulper was coined on Hebgen Lake and refers to the characteristic sound of trout in the summer months, rising to mayflies on the surface. Almost at the crack of dawn, Dan takes us to a magnificently scenic arm of Hebgen Lake, some 8 miles northwest of West Yellowstone, formed by a dam on the Madison River and hemmed in by mountains and evergreen trees.
Well, we're always using neoprenes on the lakes. It just gives us a little more insulation. It's going to get warm. There's no way we'd wear neoprenes just wade fishing today, but in the float tubes, just a little bit more to stay warm. Be a beautiful morning out. Just don't say the W word. You can say it in Italian, vento, but not in English. He'll hear us and pick up. There we go. Can you get a shot of all those spinners along the bank there? Those will be falling to the water here in the next 2.5, 3.5 hours. That's what these gulpers really go for. I don't see too much activity out there yet.
Hi Dan, what do you think is the best way today for catch some fish in this lake?
Well, it looks like we're going to have a good spinner fall if we have the conditions stay right. They're really good right now, very calm.
Yeah.
We should get some action on tricos.
Yeah.
And an hour or two from now with Callibaetis.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Both the spinners and the emergers, the duns. So
the best could be possible, maybe start just with a dry fly?
Yes, I would start with a dry trico, male or female. It really doesn't matter. I haven't noticed that they have a preference, either the green trico being the female or the black.
Which sides?
I'm going to use the female, and we're going to go over against that high bank with the trico at first. And if we have a lull, if we're not having any activity, we can put on a size 14 olive hare's ear. And the size, yep, perfect. Here's a little Callibaetis cripple. This is what I'd use when the Callibaetis start emerging here in about 2 hours. But until then, I'd go with about a size 18 or 20 on 6X.
What about CDC body kill?
That's one of my favorite patterns.
Yeah.
I tie some up. This is one size larger, but they eat that very readily. If I have a really large fish that's playing tough with us, I tie one up very similar. A little biot body, or
a little
quill body.
light body.
Mm-hmm.
You tie like Comparadun.
Yes, with CDC.
Very nice. 16 hook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And which tippet and how long?
Well, I like a very long tippet, so it will stretch a long ways before it breaks. We do have some weed beds out here. The rainbows and the browns are very infamous for trying to weed us. I mean, we'll really have to put on quite a bit of pressure once in a while to stop them from the weed beds. So I'll go with a 30 to 36 inch tippet, 5X, 6X. Usually I'll stick with 5X personally, unless I'm fishing to a fish and I keep getting refusals. Then I'll go down to a 6X.
Oh.
And what I like to do is I don't like to dress the end of my fly line. One good technique out here is have about 2 feet of the end of your fly line to sink. After you make your cast, you can pull on it, and that pulls the leader underneath the water on the lake.
Fish don't see the line.
Exactly. So we like to keep that leader.
Technique,
yeah. I might add, when we get close to some of these pods, these fish will really be traveling in pods. When we get close to them, we need to be very quiet, not verbally or vocally, but with the float tubes. Any little wakes that we create will either put the fish down or it will turn them. So we need to be conscious of that, and I'm sure you're aware of that. These fish will sit, they'll cruise about 4 or 5 inches below the surface and just go from one dun to the next dun or to the spinner, and just, and the nicest fish, you'll hear them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear them 100 yards away, they'll just,
oh.
If you hear look that direction and look for them. Look for the biggest fish. I mean, really target those guys. A size 16, big fork tails. Later on, I'll show you my CDC fly again. Oh, that's a nice fish right over there. Oh. Looks, I think he's coming this way. Oh, eat it, eat it. He's coming right at me. He was a nice fish. Wish we had Alberto here. We could box this guy in. Good tactic. Get one person on each side. That fish is going away from me. Ah, pretty good. Too excited here. Oh, come on, come on, come on. I can't see my fly. Oh, come on. There's so many Callibaetis on the water for him. Yeah, too much competition. Finally. This guy's fighting like a brown. Alberto, clip the hackle off your emerger or your cripple. Yeah, I'd clip that hackle off. They're being awful finicky today. Right to the backing. This guy's just a small one. Pretty colors. Pretty rainbow. He ate the Cripple Callibaetis. See ya.
Hello, I'm Eric Swanson. We're here in West Yellowstone, Montana, in my fly shop, and we'll be tying some flies today for gulper fishing on Hebgen Lake. It's middle August, and Alberto is here. He'll be doing some fishing with one of my guides, Dan Morrell. This is the finished fly that we're going to be tying today. It's the Gulper Special, and it's used out on Hebgen Lake in middle August to imitate Callibaetis. I'll be using Tiemco dry fly hooks, 5210 in a size 14. I've got some gray thread. I'll put the thread on the hook, clip off the tag. For the tail, I'll be using moose, mane, clip off a little bit of moose, remove the underfur, place the moose in a hair stacker. This will even all of the tips up. The tail should be approximately the same length as the shank, so you can measure it with your fingers. Tie it down with the thread, clip off the excess. The wing on the Gulper Special is calf tail. This is a calf tail that has been dyed gray. It's very straight. Try to pick a calf tail that's very straight, not curly, because a curly calf tail will not stack well and will make a very uneven wing. It'll be hard to work with. I'm going to go ahead and clip off some calf tail. And you remove the short pieces and throw them away. Then you can put the remaining portion in a hair stacker. This will even up the tips. And give you a very nice wing. The wing should be the same length as the shank. Clip off the excess. Tie it down and then wrap around the wing. This will stand the wing up straight. Then I like to pull the wing back, make lots of wraps in front of the wing to help it stand up straight. Then I like to make a lot of wraps around the wing. This will be a base to wrap the hackle around parachute style. The hackle is grizzly. This is a Hoffman saddle. And when choosing a hackle, you pick the hackle, you bend it, and the length of the fibers should be the same length as the shank of the hook. And this one appears to be the right size. Go ahead and clip off the bottom portion, strip off a few fibers, and you tie it in right next to the wing. Then the next step is the body. It'll be some hare's ear dubbing in a tan color. This fly can also be tied in an olive body shade. Just a very little bit of dubbing, sparsely dubbed onto the thread. And then wrapped forward for the body. The next step will be to wrap the hackle. 1, 2, 3, about 4 turns of hackle. Pull the fibers back and tie it off. And we'll clip off the excess hackle. Now this is the tricky part, is to do the whip finish, because you'll need to pull back all of the fibers with one hand and whip finish with the other hand. Oops. Head cement on there. Straighten the hackles around. And I also like to put a drop of head cement right at the base. This will add durability to the fly. And that is the completed Gulper Special. Ready for action.
Oh, there's a Callibaetis.
Callibaetis.
Mm-hmm.
Dry fly, and they're million.
Mm-hmm. We might be able to get some action fishing those guys off the bank here later on. Walking along the bank and casting off the bank. Because those
same size of our wood, the same
Yep,
one.
yep.
Perfect.
same color.
Same color too.
Imagine that.
Okay, yo.
There we go.
And sometimes when I approach a lake, I prefer to stay close to the bank, because if you fish in front of the bank, you can have more possibility to casting in a good way of the trout, because the trouts can go right to the left or left to the right.
You're more maneuverable along the bank.
In the middle of the lake, what do you do when the fish rises here and you see that it's going to the right? What do you do?
You try to lead them off, cut them off. You don't want to swim or kick very fast. Like I said before, it's that right there. Those little wakes right there will go out 30 feet and they'll just turn. Watch how far those rings will go. And those fish are very sensitive. They're lateral line. They'll feel it and they'll go about this far, much further than what you can cast every time. So you've got to be really careful positioning yourself. So you want to cut them off where you don't have, there went a nice one right there. Yeah, nice rise. You really need to see which direction the fish is going.
Dan explains that after spotting a stretch where trout are rising, the best technique is to surround them with 2 or 3 float tubes and slowly move in on them. Usually the trout keep right on rising, and this kind of approach avoids scaring them away.
All right, good job.
Alberto hooked and lost a fine fish that broke the ultra-thin tippet of his 6X. Dan spotted another group of trout in action, lined up the float tubes again, and told us to circle around the fish.
Monica, come post right in here. I'll get on the other side.
Alberto works his trout with his reel, paddling backwards, trying to keep the fish away from the banks of weed it makes a beeline for. The lake trout always put up a pretty good fight, and reeling in a fish is never that easy. Fishing with tiny dry flies requires a thin tippet. The best technique is to give the fish plenty of line when it darts away, and then reel it in as it tires. A final attempt at resistance, and the trout's in the net. We all admire the splendid rainbow's savage beauty. Getting the hook out causes a few problems. The fly is firmly ensconced in the corner of the mouth. Alberto solves the problem with his pincers, taking care not to injure the fish. Then he gives his catch time to get its strength back. Before letting the fish go, it's important to make sure it can fend for itself. In a matter of seconds, the trout, now correctly reoxygenated, darts away into the depths of the lake.
The second fly we'll be tying is a Sparkledun pattern. This is the finished fly. Again, we'll be using the same hook, which is the Tiemco 5210 dry fly hook. I'll start the thread. The tail on this fly is an antron material in a tan color. The tail should be the same length as the shank. Just measure that with your fingers. Tie that in. And then clip off the excess. The wing is deer hair. It's a coastal deer hair. And make sure that you pick out, the way you pick out a piece of coastal deer hair for Sparkleduns is the tips need to be very short black tips. That will give you a hollow hair and it'll help float the fly. Go ahead and clip off some hair. Remove all of the short fibers and under fur. Then we'll place the hair in a hair stacker and even up the tips. The wing is tied in facing forward about 2/3 of the hook shank. 1/3 back from the eye, 2/3 from the back of the hook. The wing should be the same length as the shank. Just measure that with your fingers and tie it in. Clip off the excess. Then I take the thread and smooth that out, tying down the butt ends. And this wing is supposed to stand straight up. I use my thumbnail to push it back, hold it back, lots of thread wraps in front to help stand the wing. The next step will be to dub the body. This is natural beaver. You just pull off a little bit in your fingers and sparsely dub the beaver onto the thread. Then we will wrap the body. The most important step of this fly is to make sure extra dubbing is wrapped in front of the wing. This will keep the wing standing straight. If you do not put enough dubbing in front of the wing, as you fish it, the wing will fall forward. Whip finish. Clip the thread. Add some head cement. And that is the finished fly. I'll give you a view from underneath. The wing is all on top.
Okay, Dan. The fishing was good on the other side of the lake. Now we can try this side. It's a little bit more quiet. I'm waiting for Callibaetis hatch.
Yes.
What do you think is the strategy? The same one, or maybe come more close to the bank? What?
Well, like I was saying earlier, the tricos are more out in the deeper water, and we'll probably fish our way in towards the banks. We're really looking for a little more action. It's a little deeper water, so it's a little cooler here. So it's going to take a little bit longer for the fish to get active, or for the Callibaetis to get active.
Do you think it's the best with a flat water or a little bit?
Just we like just a little slight breeze, just enough to break up the surface.
More easy because they don't see your pipette maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also the refractions, they don't see your line. It's a little more forgiving conditions if we have a little breeze.
And when you move close to the fish, I see on the other side that some fish feed in a circle, some fish feed on a zigzag, and some fish go very straight and they move very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Some people used to stop on the middle, waiting the fish, and try casting only when the fish come close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's better waiting or follow? What?
It's futile to try to follow a fish that's going away from you. You're most likely going to be putting fish down by chasing them down. If he's coming in and you can cut him off, that's okay. But I don't think it really pays to try to chase one down in a tube if he's going away from you. But you can watch them. They're one of the nice fish right there. You can watch them, and sometimes they'll go 100 meters, 100 yards, then they'll turn back and just come back at you. We had a couple of fish do that over there where towards the end, just before we moved, I had this fish going about 50 meters down, then coming back. I just kept sneaking a little closer, a little closer. Never got him to eat, but got the fly to him a few times.
I see also more mosquito as some hand. You can use sometime, or?
I don't. It's I don't think it's a very significant food source. I think the midges are much more of a food source to the trout than the mosquito larvae.
Okay. I think we can try to waiting for a fish. I see some rise a little bit far, but we can move.
Yeah, I think we should move out towards that weed bed and scope it out and wait for them to move.
Okay. See you.
Okay. Tight lines. Nice fish. Okay, right now, we've got one or two fish working. We have a decent one in between Monica and me. A very good rhythm. Uh-oh. Coming right at me. Come on, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it. We've got two fish in between us here. Alberto and I are working. Oh, two very nice fish. Good job. Very nice hook set.
This time, Alberto hooks a fish that dives straight down towards the lake bed. Once again, he tries to edge the trout towards more open water in order to wear it down. Just when it seems the battle is won, the fish suddenly butts away with surprising strength, bending the rod violently. It requires all the angler's expertise and some good drag work not to break the tippet.
Don't let him go too deep, because what he's probably going to try to do is dig you into a weed bed down there. So I'd put a little more pressure on him. Uh-oh. Okay, I might have to go after this nice fish over here. How big do you think he is? 18, 20? Oh, okay. Yes. I bet you he's trying frantically to find a weed bed to wrap you in. They are very strong. They're very fresh. Very seldom do they get hooked more than once. Beauty. Do you like me to put the net on them? You must buy a bigger net for these fish. Up. Beautiful brown. Nice. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good job on the team. Now we can try to lift the hook. It's a barbless hook, and it's very, very easy.
It's right in the corner of his mouth there.
That's the fly.
That's a good hook set.
And now you must always
wet your hands before you.
Both of your hands. Just gently, very gently.
The more gentle you handle them, the more docile they'll be.
Okay. You can pump sometime for the fish and the fish.
In a lake, if they really fight you hard and if they're out of breath, I like to just go like this. You know, put some water through their gills like that. Or you can pump them.
You can.
Whereas in a stream, you just hold them head first into the stream. That's the ground.
That's just medium size for this lake.
Yes, it's medium. It's medium.
Thank you, fish.
The third fly that I will be tying for you today is the Cripple Callibaetis pattern. It looks like an emerger pattern hanging partway in the film and the other part sticking up on top of the water. Start with a dry fly hook and some thread. Start the thread. The back half of this fly is gray marabou. It's very fluffy, soaks up water, moves in the water, simulates movement of a nymph struggling to emerge. Strip off a few fibers. The ends of the marabou we will use as a tail. Tie that in. Then we'll fold the butts back, tie them down, and then it will be wrapped for a body. Then tie that off, clip away the excess. This will be the portion that will hang under the water and look like a nymph. Now we will tie the front half of the fly. I'll start off with some gray rabbit dubbing. Just pull off a little bit. Dub that onto the thread. This will just be wrapped over itself. Now make sure you leave enough room between this little ball of dubbing and the eye, because we need to place a wing and some small wraps of hackle. The wing facing forward is going to be some deer hair, coastal deer hair. I'll clip a little bit off, pull out the under fibers. Then I will place the deer hair in a hair stacker, tap it, even up the tips, and that will be tied in facing forward. Leave a little bit of extra butts sticking out over the dubbing, and I will clip the excess off. This will be sticking above the water, and you'll be able to see that when you are fishing the fly. The next step will be to wrap a couple turns of hackle. It'll be grizzly hackle. I'll go ahead and choose a feather here. Clip away the butt, strip off a little bit, and tie that in. Make 2 or 3 turns, and then pull the wing back and tie off the hackle. Clip away the excess. Then I pull back any extra fibers and tie them down. Then whip finish. Clip the thread, and then add a small drop of head cement. And that is the Cripple Callibaetis.
Hello. Dan, we change area. We are on
Yes,
a different side of the lake, in another spot, and we want to try to find some fish in this area. But I see that the weather is coming a little bit bad for us because some waves and a lot of wind is coming this side of the lake.
Yeah.
I think we can swim in the other bank and move and check some rising fish. Which is the best hour for the hatch?
I'd say it's going to pick up here in about 30 minutes. So 10:30, 11:30 comes into full swing. We're just going to have to hope that this dies down a little bit, or it's going to be tough fishing.
Before we use the Callibaetis Cripple, maybe we want to try different now because there are some spinner too, no?
Yeah, good spinner pattern and a emerger, both. We'll give it a shot today. Just a little sparkle down.
This is a sparkle down?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Has a good silhouette of a spinner, and it's very easy to see.
You can use CDC or deer to tie this fly.
Exactly. You want a good, if you tie it with deer, you want a good coastal deer hair. Very, very short black tips.
Good. We can try to put this one. And what do you think about this wind?
You keep on saying that W word, and it's not ever going to die down.
You can use some nymph or some emergent maybe.
Oh, definitely. It's a
floating line too.
size 14 olive hare's ear. Works pretty good as a Callibaetis nymph. Kind of a grayish olive.
Nice.
We can try that if this doesn't die down, but maybe we'll get lucky. Looks like it's dying down out there.
We can try the same strategy than the other side and try now, okay?
Yeah, we'll try to triangulate them or box them in and cast into them. We'll give that a go.
Probably is the best. Okay, we try.
Great. Let's do it.
Thank you, Dan.
The fourth and final fly that I'll be tying is the Callibaetis Nymph. This fly is called a feather duster. It was developed by Wally Eagle, a local here in town. And the Callibaetis live in most of the lakes around here. It's a very important mayfly during the summer season. Start off with the hook. Start the thread. Be using some pheasant tail fibers. This will be used for the tail of the fly, the wing case, and the legs. Strip off a couple fibers for the tail. Usually a kind of a short tail. And I'm going to be using a gold wire rib. Over the body. Tie that in. And put that out of the way here. And the body and the thorax will be ostrich feathers. I'll go ahead and clip off a couple here. And the reason you want to use the ostrich is it's very fluffy. When you're fishing this fly in the water, it moves and breathes, simulating life. Tie those in the back. We'll just wrap those forward. Cut those off. And wrap the gold wire rib through the ostrich. Clip that off. And back to the pheasant tail. I'm going to be using one piece for the wing case and legs. So what I'm going to do is this will be folded over for the wing case, and then the legs will be folded back. Clip off a few more pieces of ostrich. Wrap that for the thorax. Fold the wing case forward. And fold these back for legs. Tying them down with the thread. Whip finish. Clip the thread. Add a small drop of head cement, and that is the finished fly.
Alberto has hooked another trout and paddles backwards to pull it away from the weed. The technique is always the same. Using such a thin tippet makes it essential to control the fish constantly, never forcing it too much, while keeping it as far as possible from safety.
He's fighting you like a brown. He's trying to dig you into the bottom. See, he has some grass on you already in that leader. Yes. Nice rainbow. Good job.
It's a nice color in this.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. We have like 2 or 3 strains of rainbow in this lake. We actually have a winter run that they actually go up with the browns in the fall and end up spawning up there. It's very unique. Most of the time rainbows, spawn in the spring.
I smell. Nice color. Thank you. Thank you, fish.
Hi, I'm Dan Morrell again, and this evening we're going to be tying the CDC quill body, and I'm going to tie it to simulate a Callibaetis spinner. It's a very visible spinner, which is very important when you're casting out there 60, 70, 80 feet to these fish. You want to always be able to see your fly. Here's the finished fly, and we'll start with the hook. I'm using a size 16. Using a fairly dark thread because these Callibaetis have dark heads, dark eyes. As a tail material, I like to use this microfibet material. Very nice and fine. And you really want to tie this tail in long, probably twice to 3 times the length of the shank, because these spinners do have a very long tail. Tie a couple wraps in behind to keep them flared out. A couple more. Measure against the other. And flare it. Now the quill. It's a goose biot, a natural or dyed light brown works very nice. We'll tie it in the small end first. I like the biots because it really does give a very realistic body. If you have a very selective fish, this just might be the point that gets them. Get some hackle pliers here. wrap it forward. And tie it off about 3/4 of the way up the shank. There we have the body. Now we'll go CDC. I like a little white and a little gray sandwiched between the white. Try to find the finest CDC you can with the finest stems. The way I tie mine, so I cross the hook here. What we want to do is bring it up parachute style after you tie it across the hook. Give it a couple wraps. We can splay it. You want to pull it up and clip it. That's going to lay out nice. Now, for the thorax, you can use the natural beaver or any of your man-made synthetic. I like a fine man-made dubbing, gray, light tan, and sparsely dub it. Take a wrap behind and in front. Take the whip finisher. And clip it off. There's the finished fly.
The weather is worsening, and the rising becomes more and more sporadic. The wind whips the surface of Hebgen Lake, but the trout can still be seen feeding on Callibaetis in the choppy water. Dan explores open water, while Alberto concentrates on the heavy weed close to the shore. Our friends assess the situation. The weather's getting worse. The hatching of the Callibaetis is over. Or almost. The best thing to do is to make for the shore and call it a day.
Okay, Dan, we finish our day. It's about 1 o'clock and the hatch of Callibaetis is finished. It was a great day for me because
It was a fun day, very fun day. We managed to stick a few before this wind picked up, and you did a really good job today on playing those fish. After breaking off the first couple, you
Yeah,
did
it
real good.
was a good team. We work with a strategy that you
Yes.
suggest before.
That worked very well.
We use a different Callibaetis than this morning, and we use a sparkle Callibaetis. It was great. Rainbow, brown,
We saw them all.
medium size, big size. This is an example of fishing on dry fly in few different lakes in Montana. What do you think about that?
We pretty much have Callibaetis in all of our lakes around here. You can go to just about any one of them and get some good dry fly activity in the mornings. And we always have this flowy stuff pick up in the afternoon, and that's what really stops the fishing until evening. And you're asking earlier about the caddis in the evening. We can do some lake caddis.
Maybe some people can try from in the bank or try just something deep close to the bank for caddis or damsel.
Exactly.
And
Damsels
spend
are
a
really good in June.
Nice evening too, very close, wait, and try some big fish too.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan.
Well, it's
I
a
hope
great day.
to meet you again
You will.
and next time. Thank you
Great.
very much.
You're welcome.
Good job.
It's a fun day.
While clouds mass over the lake, the surrounding mountains are reflected in all their magnificence on the surface. We'll certainly be back. Already, we're making plans to recapture the excitement of this very special day. If this kind of fishing appeals to you, take a trip to West Yellowstone. Eric Swanson will be delighted to see you. He'll give you the right kind of input and rent you the right kind of tackle. And there's no better guide than Dan Morrill. Right across the street from Eric's store, the Westwood Motel is a great place to stay. Large rooms, excellent service, and Atanos Marcos, the owner, is a really nice guy. Yes, West Yellowstone is an angler's paradise. And while you're there, don't forget to visit the park. Yellowstone Park is one of nature's gifts, not only to the United States, but to the whole world. Here, hemmed in by staggeringly beautiful views on all sides, the wildlife can be admired at amazingly close quarters. An evening in Yellowstone Park takes the visitor back to the days when people were at one with nature. A unique environment that's being carefully preserved intact for future generations.